That's an interesting one. So I've gone about it several different ways. I've been in Facebook groups, investor Facebook groups that, we share different subs for different things all the time. Obviously building a home, you may not use the same sub as, when you're building a home versus when you're renovating, a little 3-2, 1,400 square foot home.
Welcome to the Real Construction Owners Podcast, where we interview real construction owners doing big things. Today, we have a special guest, Dylan Brady, with the owner of Thrive New Homes out of Oklahoma. And he's crushing it, doing big things in the new building home sector, doing government construction contracts, and just an overall awesome guy. So stay tuned. What's up, Dylan? How you doing today, bro?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Man, I'm truly blessed, and I'm highly favored. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great.
When we met each other. Can you rehash to our audience your interpretation of how we met each other that one day?
Yeah, so we were down in Miami for a GoBundance event, and I was coming down to meet one of the guys in my GoPod that I was actually staying with, and I think you were already down there. You were just sitting there chatting with him. So I just walked up and I was like, "Hey, Blake, how's it going?" And he goes, "Oh, hey, meet Justin. I just met him. he just joined GoBundance." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Nice to meet you, man." And we just sat there and we chatted for, God, it was probably at least an hour or so. Well, we sat there and ate, drank, and just chatted. And you're like, "Okay, well, I got to get back to my kids." So we're like, "Whoa, you brought your family too?" You're like, "Yeah, man." And we're like, "Dude, that's awesome." So yeah, it was great. I had no idea you'd brought your kids there, but you're like, "Yeah, I gotta get back to my family." I think it was a great time. And you go to those events and you meet just a ton of great people that kind of change your mindset and everything on either business or life.
We're going to dive into that because you have an epic story about how surrounding yourself with the right people has catapulted your success and giving you a better future. And that's what our contractors want. They want a better future. They want the shortcuts. They want the templates. But before we get into all that, tell us your story. What were you doing before you got into new home building, and how'd you get into new home building?
So starting out, I went to trade school to be an aircraft and power plant mechanic. There's a local Air Force base here in Oklahoma, and I got into that, and I was like, I want to do this. My dad had done it, my grandpa had done it. Not the school, but they'd been out there at the Air Force base working for 20, 30 years. My grandpa had already retired from there back in the I think late 80s, and then my dad, he's still working out there. I think he's getting ready to retire now, but I wanted to get out there, and that's what I wanted to do. My dad was trying to push me to go to college, and at least that's what he told me he was trying to do, which I don't recall that, but he does. But I got out there, and probably about a month into it, I was working in the fuel shop, and I was like, "Dude, I don't want to do this. There's no way I'm doing this the rest of my life." So I went back and got my management degree, and I got out of that and got into supply chain, where I've been pretty much ever since then. But I continued on.
When you say supply chain, so you got into supply chain, and what career path? What did that lead you down?
Yeah, so let me back up a little bit, because I went and got, after I continued going to school. So I was working full time. I'd go to work from 5:45 and go straight into 5:45 to 2:30, and then I'd take a 2-hour break where I would go work out and then grab something to eat, and then I'd go to class from 4:30 to 9. That was my life for 4 years, and then I got a new job in supply chain. But I continued going to school. I went and got my master's in business administration, But all that same time is I'd saved up some money. And I thought, what do I started Googling, like, what do wealthy people do? And my parents had been in real estate. They bought some rental properties and stuff. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a mechanic. I told myself I never wanted to own rental properties my entire life. Never wanted to do it. I saw
Why?
the headaches that they dealt with. I saw every little thing. I was like, dude, there's no way I'm doing that. Everything I Googled, everything I read about or listened to on a podcast or something, like it just all came back to real estate or business ownership. And I was like, dude, I guess I got to buy real estate, but here's what I'm going to do differently. And this is kind of where my story goes, is that, I take things that other people have done and I just improve on them, or, I take the lessons that they've learned on, like they may have screwed up, and they share that story with me so I don't make that same screw up, hopefully.
Mm.
So I went in and just started buying up rental properties. I saved up a little bit of money and bought a few of them. And then, I'd rehab them, or the first like 5 or 6 properties, I was pretty much the guy doing everything. And then after that, I ended up buying a smaller portfolio, and there was no way that I could do any of this stuff by myself anymore. So I had to start relying on other people, to kind of do some of the work for me, because at some point you're limited on time or money, right? So once you get to a point, I was very limited on time. So there was no way I could do everything that needed to be done with all these properties. So I started kind of offloading certain things here or there. And at this point, I pretty much offload everything on rental properties.
That's the old principle, it's not,
Yeah,
you have a goal. People want to say, how do I get the goal done? But the right question to ask
right.
is, who can do this goal for
Hmm.
me to get it done so I can have my time? And
Yeah,
that sounds like you
there's
live
a
that
great
live
book.
that principle.
Yeah, there's a great book that came out a year or two ago. Who Not How. But
Amen.
I don't know if you've read that or not, but it's a fantastic read
I
on.
finished it this morning
Oh, for real?
on on my run. Yeah, Who Not How, one of the
Oh,
best books,
nice.
and
Yeah.
I learned about that through the Go Bros. Um, Good for
Hmm.
you that you've learned that book. I'll drop a link, listeners. I'll have a link for you to get your audiobook in the thing below, in the comments below. Highly recommend if you're trying to systemize, grow, delegate, and make your business run without you, but you can
Yeah.
still oversee everything.
Yeah. I wish that book had came out 10 years ago
Yeah.
when I first got started, so I could have done it probably a little bit better,
So
or even
you so,
faster.
so you were making money. You had a job in supply chain. You mentioned you
Hmm.
were doing government contracts in the supply chain realm. You were making money and investing in real estate with that job. Tell me about that.
Yeah, yeah. So within that job, we just kind of oversee, make sure parts are on the shelf and contracts are in place, and that's essentially our whole job. I kind of oversee a team now. To I mean, in all reality, it's pretty easy job in a sense. There's definitely, I say it's easy, but I've been in it for years and years and years. I've been in the exact same job for several years now, but
And that's
um,
good because you have your W-2 money, you have your secure income,
mhm,
which you can take for leveraging for real estate. When
yeah,
when you say parts on a shelf, what are you? Is this for the GSA? What are y'all buying?
yeah, it's just aircraft parts.
Okay, so you actually
Yeah,
are in a building and you're like looking at the parts.
no. I work I work from home. All of our stuff is done through a computer and through software and all that stuff. So
Nice.
at this point, I just make sure that a lot of the things are getting done. So we've got some people underneath us that do a lot of the day to day stuff, and we make sure we're briefing leadership and making sure things are actually getting done that should be getting done. So it's not a lot of um, tactical work. It's more of like long term type work,
That's
in a
so
sense.
interesting because the work that
Yeah.
I
So
do is government contracts for construction.
yeah.
And what yours sounds way easier. Like you're just looking at parts and there's not a part there. We got to buy the part.
Yeah. I mean, it's so the contracts are, that you're, I'm sure you're going to Fed Biz Ops and other sites
I
like
actually,
that actually.
I, I created a software where I have an engineer pull all the construction contracts and give them to me on an Excel
Nice.
spreadsheet. So we can just control F roof, control F construction, control F HVAC, and we don't have to waste time on the websites. It's delivered to all
Yeah.
my members. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. That's awesome. But after I got through doing after I got through doing my MBA, I got bored. And I don't know if that's just because I'd done school my entire like adult life. But I went and got my real estate license because I was like, well, what's one way that I can increase my money? Because there's only one thing I've learned, like, from all the different books and podcasts and stuff that I've listened to, there you can only decrease your expenses by so much. But your income can be infinite, especially in a sales type position, or owning your own business. So I was like, well, I think I'm going to do this, and I'm going to open up a property management company. Well, shortly after getting my real estate license, I was like, I don't want to do that. The margins are way too low. It's way too much work. Like, screw that. So I just started selling real estate, and I got really good at it. And now I'm a real estate broker, and I kind of help my broker out, as she's the president right now of the MLS board. So I kind of help her out with the brokerage, as she's gone and stuff, while still selling real estate.
That's
But
beautiful.
I
So you
I
still
was
have
able.
your W-2 job, GSA contract, or what the contract world. You're also a broker of a real estate firm where you sell and you have a team under you, and
Yeah.
you're also building homes.
Yeah, yeah. So last year we started. I started a new kind of an arm, essentially. So I was like, well, I've got the rental business. I've got the sales, and at with and here's really the reason why I started doing that is I saw so many builders that just suck. I saw so many builders that had terrible customer service. I saw so many builders that their quality sucked. And I said, I think I can do this better. Obviously there's some people that are in here and they're doing well. But there's to an extent, you get these contractors and builders and stuff that they grow so much that they lose the quality, right? And to some extent, you're always going to lose that quality as you grow. But you've got to be able to have systems in place to help mitigate a lot of that. Um, but there's only one way to grow, and that's to start delegating. And no one's going to care about your business more than what you care about your business.
So
It's your name, it's your reputation on the line. And
uh,
and and that's and I was like, well, you know what? I think I can do it better than a lot of these guys. So that's last year. I was like, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna I bought quite a few lots, probably bit off more than I could chew. But I had a lot of good mentors. So when I started selling homes, I kept bugging this one builder. I was like, man, this guy's a good builder. Like, he's doing really good work. I'm gonna keep bugging him. He's like a younger guy. He's in his 30s. I was like, I'm just gonna keep bugging him. So what I would do, he was building homes in my neighborhood that I was living in, and I would walk by and I would take pictures. And I was like, take a picture, send it to him. Hey, looks great. The ground plumbing is done. Or hey, looks great. But I think your framers may need to check this or this or this. And just being in real estate already with all my rental properties, I already had that knowledge. So
yeah,
I it was like I already had the knowledge. So it's almost like, why not go do it, right?
yeah.
Um, but that was kind of the reason why I wanted to create that third arm of my real estate company. Within the brokerage, the rental properties, and that, or the rental property, the investing side of the real estate stuff. But
It sounds
um,
like you had the idea, you had the vision, but we were talking earlier. You joined GoBundance, a group of
mhm,
epic, healthy, wealthy men doing incredible things in life and in business and for their family. And it sounds like when you surrounded yourself with that caliber of men, that's when you were like, I'm going to take that leap of faith. And you
yeah,
talked with Mike who is also on my podcast. And what instrumental role did surrounding yourself with people like Mike and people from GoBundance, did it play on you and your success in taking that leap of faith and starting your home building sector?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaways is that you cut out like 15, 20 years of experience that they have, and mistakes that they've made. Kind of like back on, with my parents. I take the mistakes that people have made, and then I just improve on them and make sure I don't make them. We're talking with Mike and talking with this other guy, Danny, and talking. There's another guy that's actually in my GoPod, Ruger. He's a third generation builder, but having those conversations with those guys, and just taking away, like, I would ask them questions, and they're still here, right? I can pick up the phone and talk to one of those guys today if I needed to, and just be like, hey, I've got this going on. What would you do in this situation, or have you had anything happen like this? And I can just take their knowledge and their expertise and just make sure that I don't make the same mistakes that they've made in the past, or I make sure that they already know what they're doing. Why would I not utilize that relationship and just get to know them more intimately? And not to say like that I'm just a leech off of them. I try to provide value. Like with Danny, I was going by his job sites. I was trying to take pictures. I was keeping him updated on what needed to happen, even though he wasn't asking me to. I just kept bugging him and providing value. And I think that's the biggest thing you can do is provide value right there. But
the more
yeah,
value we provide in life, the more blessings we receive in life. And that's like the golden
right.
rule. You know it. Like you're providing value, and in return, people are willing to help. Love that.
Yeah.
So contractors who want to build their first house, like instead of talking about all the little details, like what do they got to do? Like buy the lot, and then what do they got to do?
You want me to like walk you through the phases?
Yeah, just but not like super detailed. Just like do this.
I mean, yeah. So if you're wanting to build, either, are you talking spec home, custom home, your own
Custom
personal
home,
home?
personal home.
Okay, so your personal home, like the first thing you need to do is really find some land, and you need to get like, depending on whether or not you want to have the entitlements already done on the land, it's already approved and all that stuff. That's the route I went because I was not really familiar with the whole entitlement process. But I figured, I'll learn on the way. So I bought some lots from a developer. I bought out about half of his development that he had. In doing so, he'd already had the entitlements. He had already had the surveys done. He had already had all the plat maps, done. So I didn't have to worry about that. But I just bought the lot, and then you've got, depending on whether where you're at locationally, you've got to get um, permits pulled and all that stuff to start building, and then you really kind of start walking through the process of what comes first, what do we need to do, from the pad to the footing, ground plumbing, you pulling your slab, going up with, you start going vertical after that, doing framing, but you need to also be making sure like your timelines and stuff that I've figured out. Your windows are 8 to 12 weeks lead time, so you really need to be ordering your windows back when you got your plans done,
Yeah.
before you even dug your footing. So those are a lot of key things. But I mean, really, it's not a hard process, of building a home, but it is time. Yeah, it takes time. It takes a lot of dealing with BS. Whether
Subcontractors.
whether that's trying to get your subcontractor to actually show up. You know, you know, there's been time and time again. I'm like, dude, where are you at? Okay, I'll be there on Monday. Okay, so I'll show
Monday
up on
rolls
Monday.
around. Yeah.
I show up on Monday and they're nowhere to be found. So then I'm hitting them back up. Hey, where you at? Oh, I'm sorry, we got caught up on this job. It'll be Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of really just sometimes it's
Babysitting,
frustrating.
herding cats.
It's babysitting a bunch of high schoolers. It seems like
Yeah, for sure.
30 and 40-year-old high schoolers.
Right, right. So let's unpack that a little bit. What's a philosophy or strategy that you implement within your process to protect and to ensure that the sub is doing what they're supposed to as per specs?
I think the biggest thing you can do is actually be present, right? So, I mean, if I hadn't showed up on Monday, like let's just use that same deal with that one sub. If I hadn't showed up on Monday to see that he's not there, like he would just not show up until I say something, right? So I think the biggest thing is what I've learned is actually just being there because you miss out on if you're not there, you miss out on things that either did they even show up or if they did show up, are they actually doing what they should be doing, right? So I think just having that presence there, just you could either just be sitting in the truck trying to get some paperwork done, or trying to do some like lead generation or something like that. But just
Yeah,
sitting in the truck and they know that you're there,
yeah.
has it has like a I don't
A
know.
weight to it.
Yeah, I guess it gives a little bit of a weight to it, but also, there could be things that I have had other, good subs like one of my framers. I was there and he came up and asked, "Hey, if we've got this, I'm not going to go into the situation. We got this thing here. Um, I thought about moving it over here because it makes more sense because of this." And I was like,
Yeah,
"You know what? I like that idea." So we cut down on either time or maybe he would have never done that because I wasn't there and he was just going to go straight off the plans.
yeah.
Um, and a lot of them will
So
do that, even though it doesn't make sense. Like if the architect is great at doing what they're doing. However, there's a few things. I'll use this as an example. Like your tubs, your tubs are 60 inches wide. Well, the architect may say, "Hey, this space needs to be 62 inches wide." No, it really needs to be 60 and like an eighth or 60 and a quarter in order for your tub to slide in, and you don't have to fur out the framing and
right.
have it look weird.
Yeah.
Even though the architect had his plans and that in his mind it makes sense, and they may have always done that, right? Um, but when you actually physically get out there, it doesn't make sense. So like
So
being present on those can cut away from some of the mistakes that could be made by some of those
curious,
subs.
there's different tactics and techniques to find quality subs, whether calling the city permitter and asking who the good framer is, or calling abc.org or agc.org, or what are
Mm-hmm.
strategies, or calling a supplier and getting a recommendation. What are the strategies that you find yourself implementing to find quality subs?
Man, that's an interesting one. So I've gone about it several different ways. I've been in Facebook groups, investor Facebook groups that we share different subs for different things all the time. Obviously, building a home, you may not use the same sub as when you're building a home versus when you're renovating, a little 3-2 1,400 square foot home that's 50 years old.
Yeah.
So I've used Facebook groups to find subs. Just ask for recommendations on there from other guys, other investors, or other contractors that they've used. I've went to job sites. So that's I call it poaching, but sometimes it's great. But
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
actually get to be physically out there and see, what other people are, what type of work are they doing? Like, are they doing half-ass stuff, or are they actually doing like pretty decent job?
Yeah. Are they sitting in
And
the
then
back drinking beer, or are they actually like
yeah,
in there working hard,
exactly,
focused?
exactly. And I've also I've went and asked, if I was looking for a great plumber. This actually happened recently. Um, I had one builder respond to me in a Facebook group. He's like, I've built over 600 homes here in Oklahoma, and not one time I haven't met one good plumber. And I was like, well, that's a far stretch, but I understand, his frustration. So I would go to, like a local plumbing supply store
Yep.
and be like, hey, do you have, one or two, maybe three plumbers that you would recommend? Because the good plumbers are in there, every day doing a bunch of work, getting
Yep.
a lot of materials. A lot of the guys that suck, who knows? In this environment, they may have been getting work, but in the past, the guys that are great at doing what they're good at, um, they're going to those supply stores every day, or
Yeah.
every week, or whatever the job has. Um,
Yeah.
so the more repeat guys that are in there, hopefully they kind of get an idea who pays their bills on time, because they've all got credit accounts and stuff
Yep.
at those places. So I've done a variety of different things. So you Facebook groups, actual poaching from different development job sites, asking different suppliers. Um, there's a
Yep.
variety of different ways, and then just asking. I think the best way is just referrals, just asking someone. Uh, I feel like a lot of builders don't like to give up their subs, obviously because they're keeping them pretty busy for the most part. But if you can find someone that's willing to share, that like and trust, then referrals are probably your best bet. And that's another reason, my mentor, or one of my mentors, has been a wealth of knowledge there. If I can't I try not to bug him, because I'm like, I don't want to be a soul sucking leech off of him trying to take all of his subs. So, but if I can get to a point where, all right, I've done enough search on my own. I I really want to make sure this gets done right. I'm just going to ask him for, maybe one or two referrals. That's
Yeah.
how I would go about that. But
So that brings us into like changing gears a little bit. You got started building homes. You built some homes. Run through those numbers: purchase price, sell price, profit, um, and then because that's going to lead me to my next topic.
yeah, so I think for the most part, when you're building spec homes, you're wanting to clear a good, 15, 20%, somewhere around there, of the total sales price. Um, I don't really have the numbers in front of me right now
It's
to
okay. Don't
to
worry
share
about
with
it.
you, but that's typical. Around 15-ish% on spec homes is really what you want to hit, of the total sales price. So, you got a $400,000 home, you're wanting to net around 60,000. Now that,
Nice.
on spec homes, you've got a lot of business expenses and stuff, and I try to run pretty lean, and um, keep my overhead and stuff down for the most part. So I've got, bookkeeper, and I've got a designer, and I've got myself for right now. I've just tried to run pretty lean, and this was based on suggestions from, some of those guys. One of the GoBundance guys. He's like, dude, start out lean. It's gonna suck for a while, but start out lean. You'll thank me later. And he,
Yeah.
he even got me out of buying the entire development out. So I only bought like half of the development out, which now I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, that was probably a very smart idea. I probably even should have bought less than half of the development out. So, um, but
Beautiful.
yeah,
What,
yeah, on
what would you
on
say?
on
Go ahead.
custom homes, I do a cost plus model. So whatever it costs to build their home, and I just negotiate a certain percentage on top of it.
Nice.
So yeah, so if it's there again, if it's a 400, if it costs me $400,000 to build their home, then I'm getting 60,000 if I negotiate at 15%. Um, However, depending on like the size of the home, if it's a $1 million home, I'll negotiate a lesser percentage, maybe at 12 or 13%, because I'm still netting, still netting over six figures on that home. But you got to think that that I don't know, 15, or anywhere between 12 and 20%. That's got to cover your warranties, for that first year or two, however long you do your warranties. But it's also got to cover your overhead, and you're not selling a home every day, so, or
Yeah.
every week. So, you got to think it took you 6 to 9 months to build this home. Uh, so you've got to you got to come out and really think about like, how you're going to be paying your bills in the meantime. So,
Dude, I'm mind blown. When I saw you less than 6 months ago, you were not building homes. And here you are now building homes. So what would you say to a contractor who is making money, who's like, man, I want to build my own home, or I've always thought about building my own home, or they want to get into that realm? What would you say is like something they should focus on to be able to do that?
um, I would say like processes, systems and process. If you're really wanting to make a business out of it, and I feel like that's where not necessarily like builders or anything, but a lot of subs, plumbers, electricians, bricklayers, framers, all that stuff. A lot of them, they're really good at doing what they're doing, right? So whether it be laying tile or framing or what, they're really good at doing that, but they suck at running a business, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
there's one thing that I've learned from books, podcasts, um, mentors, guys in Go Abundance, is run it as a business starting out, and always run it as a business. So yeah, I could be making a little bit extra money um, by not running it as a business. Um, like I could be throwing the money into my personal account. Like, no, don't do that. Create a totally separate like entity. Create its own bank account. Create its own EIN number. All that stuff. You got to just run it as a business. Start documentation. Start hiring out the little things. So like the first thing I did, hire out bookkeeping and design. Did not want to do any of that stuff because I'm not good at. Not to say that I can't do it. I can do bookkeeping. I actually I'm a nerd and I do enjoy bookkeeping, but I know that that's one of those like low level tasks that I need to offload. Like
Yeah.
you pay $150 a month and a bookkeeper takes care of all that stuff.
Right.
And where I need to be focused on is growing the business and growing, getting customers and
Yeah.
clients.
So how
Um,
are you doing that? What is your how are you growing your business and getting customers? What are your marketing
man,
strategies and
just
scaling
I would
this?
say I would say right now it's just kind of through grassroots type stuff. So the couple spec homes that I started building uh, like earlier, like late, it was like late last year's when I got um, we were having our daughter, and I remember I closed on the or I negotiated on the land uh, for all that development stuff, and that was last December. And we've got as I started building spec homes, I would start getting people like calling on my signs. I made sure that that was one of the first things I did was put a sign out because a lot of there's some builders they don't even put a sign out. Like there's there's some guys in the same neighborhood. They don't even have a sign. I'm like, how are people going to know that you're building their home, or
Right.
someone's going to build their home? But uh, through that, and I started social media. Social media is a big thing, and if you think of like the algorithms within social media, reels are like one of the number one things, at least in Instagram,
Yeah.
um, to just drive people to your business. So hashtagging can also do some of that stuff. So just throwing signs up have gotten me like several custom clients from this. And
Nice.
like
Nice.
right now it's just they literally there's some people from California and they were here visiting and they were driving that neighborhood for some reason. And they called my sign and I answer the phone. Like answer your phone, people. Like it's the most simplest thing that you can ever do. But I answer my phone and I make sure I have great customer service. And being in sales as a real estate agent, like that's the number one thing. If you can answer your phone and call people back and stay like on a system of like reaching out to them, follow up, that's like the biggest thing. The more you can be in front of somebody, whether it be through an email, a text message, a phone call, a postcard, whatever it is, the more they are they are recognized, they are recognizing you, um, and the more that your name is on top of their mind when they think about,
Oh,
in this case,
yeah.
home building.
Yeah.
So I just make sure to follow up with people that have reached out make sure that I do the best that I can do to explain certain situations, or
Do you have
a
a
lot of
sales
people.
cycle? Do you have a sales cycle for a new prospect who calls you? If so, what is it?
I'm like, yeah, hey, thanks for reaching out. How can I help out? And they'll be like, well, me and my wife are thinking about selling a home, or selling our home and buying a home. Well, I'm like, okay, well, I could help you out with both of those if you're not already working with a realtor. I am a licensed broker here in Oklahoma. I can help sell your home, and we can help out with closing costs and stuff. So I am partnered with a local lender that help out with closing costs when you build your new home with us. And so there's like little things like that some builders don't even
Differentiate
do.
yourself
Yeah.
that differentiates you and makes you then like, wow, okay, this is like all
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So and that was kind of the premise of why I wanted to, like, well, if you needed a rental property to stay in while we sell your home and your home is being built, like, hopefully we can put you into something. At this point, I've kind of went away from investing in the residential world and kind of went into commercial, but that's for another podcast.
That's round two. We'll talk about why you went
Yeah,
commercial instead of residential. So
no,
my question to you is what's an investment that you've made in yourself or in business that surprised you?
I think investing in myself. I think that's the best thing you can do. Not to plug GoBundance on this podcast a lot, but like that's one of the biggest things that, I mean, it was one of the biggest investments that I've ever made into myself. And I would say that's definitely changed my trajectory of my life, my family's life. Obviously, there's certain things to get into GoBundance, but 4 or 5 years ago, I tried to get in, but I didn't have the net worth. They didn't have the $1 million net worth to get in, and at that time, they didn't have the Ascend program or anything like that. So I was like, I'm not gonna mess with that. But getting into
That's awesome.
GoBundance has really changed the way I look at things from a mindset perspective. And then also, and that's one of the main reasons why I shifted into commercial investing, just understanding like how the money world works from an investment standpoint, and like the money that can be made, whether through equity or through cash flow through commercial, is one of the biggest things that has changed like my mind, getting into GoBundance. But also like just the growth, the personal growth, and the relationships that I've had. I can call, like, I met Mike through GoBundance. Like, I made a post. I was like, hey, I'm looking for I can't remember if it was like through a phone service. I was trying to just set up my business, and I was like, I mean, I'm looking through a phone service, or I was looking for a website or a logo design, all this stuff. And Mike had answered that, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I hop on a call? No idea who this guy is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea who he was. I could just call him. And like we sat there and chatted for like an hour. And I was like, dude, I don't want to, waste any more of your time. I was like, I thoroughly appreciate you hopping on the phone call and just chatting. But he'd recommended that book for, someone starting out. And he's like, man, I wish I would have had this book 100, or not 100, but 20 years ago when I started. And I was like, oh, okay. So I immediately bought it and started reading it. But it's been it's like a Bible. You go back in and like, oh, hey, that's how you deal with it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's awesome.
that's also how I structure, like, from Mike. I got the cost plus model. I'd heard about the cost plus model, but he explained it in a way that I was like, okay, that's the route I need to take, right? But just investing in myself to learn, like, be around GoBundance guys. I learned more about investing, more about my health, just all kinds of things that has paid off like tenfold. Like, I look at it and I'm like, well, that was a lot of money, but look at all the stuff that has really came from that, and the relationships that I've made from that. Hopefully, will end up changing my life. Like, if I look back in 10 years, by the time I, I'm 31 now. So by the time I
And
turn
you're
like
going to
40 or so,
retire by the time you're 40. Your goal is to be done with work
that's the
completely.
goal. That's the goal.
Same
Yeah.
here. Same here. I got 4 years.
I had the goal to become a millionaire by 30, and I hit that. But I think I was 29. I did there's one thing out of a book I pulled. It's The Millionaire Real Estate Investor from Gary Keller. And I read that, I think, in 2017 or 2018. One thing I took away from that was to track your net worth. Every month, go in and update your net worth. So since 2017 or 2018, I've been in every month. I've gone in at the end of the month and and updated my net worth, whether it went up or went down, but it helps you track what things you're doing from a month to month standpoint that are increasing your net worth and increasing your life and your cash flow and all that stuff. So there's a few things that I've added to it, like earned income and passive income down at the bottom. I'll add those little line items, which have really helped me look at like what's really exploded my net worth. Well, it's been investing in real estate, and
Yeah.
you look at the guys on the 728 call. I don't know if you've ever called in
Yeah,
on any of those calls.
So what he's referring to is if you're a part of GoBundance, it's a group of 7-figure minimum requirement of epic dudes. There's also an 8-figure group. What he's saying, 7 to 8 call, you have to be a part of this mastermind just to listen to these calls. And these are guys who went from 7-figure net worth to 8-figure net worth. And it's incredible. Go on, continue, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at their path of progress over, the 10, 15, 20 years of like, hey, this is what I was doing back then. And then just to see it kind of, it's steadily going along, it's increasing. And then all of a sudden it just hockey sticks. And almost every single one of them hockey sticks. And it's like, I take this into my life just in any different instance. It's not the things, it's the small things that we're doing every day in our life that are constantly getting better. And then all of a sudden it just starts hockey sticking up. And it's the same thing with our net worth, right? So if we're tracking our net worth, if we're tracking what we're doing within our life to make ourselves better. So whether it be, you set a goal that, hey, I want to do 20 minutes of cardio every day for this month, or I want to do 20 minutes of cardio for 5 days a week, or 5 days a week. You're not going to get immediate results. So you're going to be doing this for months, if not a year. But then after a little while, you're going to just slowly start see like an improvement of those habits that you've created yourself. It's almost like delayed gratification in a sense, either from health or fitness or relationships with your spouse, or within your business or real estate investing or whatever it is. Like, it's those little things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis that'll help improve it like over time.
Love this. Dylan, this has been a blast, bro. I just got getting my house in Costa Rica, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and I want to invite you. I got fly fishing rods, surfboards.
Nice.
It's epic. There's waterfall hikes, jungle tours. It's nonstop adventure. And you're the type of guy that I would say bring your family. Let's have our families connect and have a blast.
Absolutely. My wife and I did Costa Rica last year. It was a blast. We drove all over the country. It was awesome.
Nice.
You're gonna really love living down there, man.
This has been a blast, Dylan. I appreciate you. Dylan Brady with Thrive Homes out of Oklahoma. We discussed his journey of supply chain, government contracts for the aircraft world. We discussed how he surrounded himself with the right people, and that gave him the mindset shift to be able to start building new homes and create a better life for his family. We discussed epic books that every listener should read. Thank you so much for being on, Dylan. Have a good day, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Take care.